Hey everybody, this is Professor Lilly, and this is my weekly video to go over the activities for the week. So, as you know, right now we just started File Management Week, which is going to run from today until Sunday. Um, so, as you recall, last week was more of just getting everybody up to speed and hopefully everybody getting your Creative Cloud account set up. So if you haven't done that, you have to get the Creative Cloud account this week. And this week, activities are requiring you to use one of the apps in the Creative Suite, which is Photoshop. So that's kind of the next stage. Once you get that account, and try using Photoshop. And if Photoshop works, then you can assume the other apps that we have to use later in September and October will be working fine for you. So a couple people, I think, maybe were confused, or maybe there was an incorrect due date. I saw that there was one incorrect due date that referred to the 6th, these activities being due. But so I went and changed that. But so everything on here should refer to the activities for this week being due on Sunday, and that's generally the way it will always work. Is at the end of that week on Sunday is when anything would be due. So as you saw in my email, we're not going to have the virtual lab today, just so that everyone gets a chance to watch this video and get started on the activities. And then if you have questions when we have the Zoom lab on Thursday, then you'll be able to ask questions then. I'm also going to give a demonstration then on resizing photos in Photoshop, which is one of the things you need to do. But in this video, I'm just going to focus on going over what the activities are and resources that you need so you can kind of get into it and understand what's going on. And also so that if you do have questions after watching the video once or twice, that you can come in on Thursday and ask those questions. So the main tutorials, so the Creative Cloud Library kind of gets into some cloud options for Adobe. It's not quite as important for the activities. Probably the most important of the tutorials that you're definitely going to use is this one here on resizing images in Photoshop. And again, I would make sure you look at this one before Thursday, so that if you have questions, I mean, my demo is going to be very similar. I'm going to talk about a few things that they don't talk about in this video, or in this video, plus just some activities that you can do. But basically, what I'm asking you to do is similar to what they're going to be doing in this tutorial here. So definitely watch this one in terms of learning how to use Photoshop to resize images and change the resolution, which is very important to prepare an image to be put on the web. Okay, and then there's also very much pertaining to the activities this week is this one that says link to tutorial information for Moodle. So this is it's just a Google Doc, but he basically gives a tutorial in kind of reading for each of the three cloud apps that we're going to talk about this week. So we have OneDrive. Now everyone has access to OneDrive through Loyola because your email system, the Loyola email system uses Microsoft, and so OneDrive is their kind of cloud app, and so everyone has access to this already. G Drive, I assume most of you have a Google account. Probably a lot of you in high school were using Google, like Docs and stuff like that. So a lot of you, I'm sure, already have access to G Drive, and so this talks about that and how to get access. And then lastly is some of you might not have Dropbox, but hopefully you will after this, and just talks about the basics. You know, one thing, and I'll come and take this out. I mean, maybe I'll leave it in. This is just an option. I'm not covering Adobe Bridge this year, just because the other three apps do it all really well. And Adobe Bridge is basically a a kind of app for being able to sort through a whole bunch of image files or files in general. So it's for file management. Most of us, unless you become a professional graphic designer or something like that, aren't going to have so many um, docs that you really need to be using Adobe Bridge a lot. So really, Adobe Bridge is just like a useful tool if you're using all of the Creative Suite applications a lot in your work. So I'm not gonna, this is optional. I'm not going to be covering that. Adobe Bridge does allow you to do a little bit of photo editing, but I decided that I'd rather you all get into photo editing with Photoshop right away. So again, this week's activities are learning all about these three storage apps so that you're familiar with at least a couple of them, because you're going to be using them a lot this semester when you're just sorting files, sharing files with me, and also having your files available with no matter what computer you're using. So I use a couple different computers, and obviously if we are on campus, you would maybe be using the computers in the computer lab sometimes. Sometimes your laptop, maybe sometimes one of your parents' laptops or a sibling or friend's laptop. And so if your docs for your files, mostly files or photos and Word docs, are on in a cloud storage app, then you can get it access to them no matter what computer you're on. And so that's kind of the idea. So again, make sure you come here, and these are going to tell you how to use these different apps and to get them set up if you don't already have them. But like I said, you probably you almost definitely have access to OneDrive and Google Drive already. But if you don't know how to access them and to get in to use them, then that's the kind of idea again behind this week. Okay, so the activity itself is a little bit detailed, and that's partially on purpose because when we're working with graphics files and video files and doing kind of work of that sort, especially once you get into the profession, there's a lot of times you're working on your own at home and you'll be going through a list of things that you have to do for your client or for your boss or whoever. So it is a little bit detailed in terms of what you need to do. So you just need to make sure you go through this list. So I'm going to start at the top, okay? So, and I give you a lot of the resources to start with, and I'm asking you to add a few things, such as edited photos that you took last week, your profile photos, and photos of outdoors near where you are. So, you should start after watching the video, reading through this list, and maybe being a little confused. You really start here with this cloud folder. And this is a zip file. This is what a zip file looks like. And basically, a zip file is a way to put a whole folder, attach it to an email or attach it to Moodle or something like that. And when a person downloads and clicks on the zip file, so it's a .zip file, then the whole folder opens up. So check it out. When I click on this, it'll download. See, since it's already been downloaded by me before, so that's why it gives it the name cloud2.zip. And when I click on it here, we'll show you what it does. It opens it up here. So here's the cloud2.zip, and my computer automatically recognized, oh, it's a zip file. I'm going to open it up and produce the folder here. So here's the and this will be pretty much the same whether or not in Windows or Mac. There will be an app somewhere. It might automatically happen or it might not. You might have to double click on the .zip file and for it to unload it and turn it into a folder. So here's what the folder looks like. Oops, okay. So again, everyone's going to have this. So as soon as you download it and open it, this is what it gives you. It gives you a couple images. And I'm pretty sure they should be unedited. Let me open it in Photoshop. And again, this editing here, I'm going to do a demo in the lab, but I'm just making sure here. being very slow to open. Here we go. I'm going to go to image size. Okay. So check it out here, and I'm going to go over this again live on Thursday. But I noticed, okay, look, check it out, 56 inches. Okay, so that would be huge to display on a screen. We always talk about the size of an image in pixels. Okay, so my screen here that I'm looking at, I think the width is about 2500. I'm sorry, 2000. So a width of 4000 pixels would totally be larger than my screen is now when it displayed. Sometimes you might see an image where the resolution is set to like 300, and that means it's a lot of dots per square inch. But a screen can only display like around 100. So a resolution wouldn't want to be like 96 or 72. And again, I'm going to talk more about this. So I'm going to set it to 97 or 96, but then I'm going to change the width. So if on a web page, kind of, if I want to show this as a pretty decent size image of like, let's say I'm blogging about a hike that I went on, then I would change this to maybe, let's see what happens when I choose 700. Now it's going to automatically change the height because it knows the aspect ratio. I mean, if I wanted to be even bigger, maybe 800 by 600 is great. Hit OK. And right now it's need to zoom in. If you can see over here on this this navigator, like it says what percentage I'm looking at it at. So if I want to see how big the image would really display, then that's now at 100%. So from here, I would just go to save as a JPEG or save from web, and I'll go over those on Thursday in the Zoom lab. But just to reiterate that these images here are not changed yet. They're not edited for the web, and this is one of the activities that I'm asking you to do. The other activities, I'm just asking you to add your resume and your profile photos, and so the specific details of how basically you're editing this cloud folder, adding a few items to it, a few documents, adding some new folders. So partially it's just to get you used to kind of working through. Now a lot of you, this might be relatively simple. I mean, you might be used to working with digital docs and folders a lot, and others maybe not so. So like in the Mat environment, if I wanted to add a folder for my resume, then I just go to File, New Folder, and I can rename the folder itself, and then I can add whatever I want to in it. Okay, so let's get back to the guidelines. So that's why it says here, locate cloud folder and create a new folder called edited images in the cloud folder. So to do that, I've already found the cloud folder, I downloaded it, and then I would add a folder. Right now there's not anything in resume, so I could rename that one edited images. So that would be the first thing to do. So you basically come down this list for what you need to do. I'm asking you to add your profile photos that need to be resized for the web in Photoshop first. So now, right now, there's in the cloud folder I've given you, there's only 2 images. So once you add 3 more, you have 5. And again, here's another link to that Photoshop resizing tutorial, and which is similar to what I'm gonna do when I demo resizing in Photoshop on Thursday. Then next, you add a resume subfolder. You put your resume as a Word document in there. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to be grading you for what's like in your resume. So if you talk about like any kind of work experience you've had, your classes that you've taken so far, your GPA in high school, all those type of things. Great, great, great. But I'm not going to be like reading through it and say, oh, you got dock points because you're not saying this or that. So this is not a exercise in creating resumes, but you do need to have something, okay? And you're going to have the resume eventually on your WordPress website. So you do want to spend some time on it. But at this point, you just want to make sure you have something and maybe continue to work on it throughout the semester. And then once everything is perfectly set up through these guidelines, again, you're going to have to read through them several times. And that's just a normal part of life for when you're a professional and also, I guess, a student, college student. Then once you've made the edits, you want to come through. So let's say Cloud 5 folder, let's rename it. So I'm not going to be particular in terms of the name. So I could call it something that I remember, Cloud. I'm going to do an underscore there, files for class. All right, and then I want to come through again. This once everything's set, you've done all your Photoshop work, you've re-edited the, you have the edited folder files, images in the raw files, which means unedited. And I'm just going to come through here. In a Mac, I'm just hitting Control, or I could go up here, and then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to compress. So compress is the word for turning a file into a zip file or a zip doc. Okay, and there it is here, okay? So now this can be uploaded to your cloud apps. Or you could just, to be honest, you can also just upload it here. Upload the whole folder. All right, so the next thing, and again, you know, you can go through these, but at the same time, the other side of it is learning about the cloud apps themselves. So what I've asked you to do is I've asked you to put your folder in at least 2 of the 3 most popular storage cloud apps. So OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox. So and you're supposed to read about all 3 of them, learn a little bit more about it. So I'm giving you the option. So you choose to maybe choose 2 you're already more comfortable with. 3 just seem like a little bit of overkill. And you put it, again, the name can be slightly different for each one of you, but it has to be something that's useful for you. Like in naming, it's always something that you hopefully would remember later. So like if you came to this a folder titled this next semester, you remember, oh, that's from Digital Tools. You might even call it Digital Tools Module 1 activity. And to be honest, I'm not even using anymore the term Module 1. It's just the week 2 activity. And then you go submit it by Sunday. Okay, so a student already sent me an email and asked the question, where do I submit this? Well, you submit it right here. Okay, so the word, the folder should be similar to this. Okay, so sorry, I'm skipping ahead. So so what you submit here is a Word document that has the link to your 2 folders, either in OneDrive, Google Drive, and or Dropbox. And so how do I do that? Okay, so it should look like this. I got one from last semester. So what you drop in here is a Word doc, and this is a student from last semester. So what we have here is a link to her folder in 2 of the storage apps. Okay, and I'll show you in a second how do you create a link. But basically, this is really useful to be able to share it with other people. So let's say you're working with 3 other people on an assignment, and you have to have folders or files that you're sharing and you're working on together. Then you put it up in your drive, and then you send them a link, email or text or however, and they can now access it and open it up. And then the second thing I want, obviously you should have your name up top, date's fine, is what I call the tutorial journal. And for each of the main modules, I'm going to ask you to do this. So when you turn in the activities, I want to hear about how you use the readings and tutorials and what was useful and maybe not so much useful. And that's partially for me to kind of figure out what do I want to change every semester. Now, each student will have a different experience. So, for example, if she says tutorials were not necessary for her for Google Drive because she already had experience using it, right? So that's great for me to know. But there might be other students who said, well, I've never used Google Drive before, and so I found this tutorial to be very useful. So I'm interested in your honest opinion about what was useful, what was not. And at the end here, she talks about how she found another video on YouTube to watch that she found useful. So I want to hear also about anything extra that you did to learn more, like when you're doing your own research. Some students might look at some of the tutorials I give them and be like, yeah, that's not working for me, and go and do their own research. So I'm kind of interested in what you do on your own as well. So this, again, is what I would call the tutorial journal. Some modules are short and this doesn't need to be that long, and other modules will be more reading, more tutorials, and so they might be longer than this. So when I'm doing the grading, I'm going to looking for you to have in your Word doc the tutorial journal, and then the 2 links to whichever 2 drives you chose to use. I have Dropbox over here. Okay, so let's say, let me find out. So this is my Dropbox, is what it looks like. Let's say the folder I wanted to share, I'm just randomly choosing one. And this is going to be different in each app. So one thing you need to learn, whichever 2 storage apps you choose to use for this assignment, you need to figure out how do I get the link to that folder once I've put it in there and all my folders are there. So in Dropbox, it's through share, and I'm going to go to share, and then down here, I'm going to go create link, and then copy link. Okay, and then let's say now I wanted to add it to my my Word doc, and I'm just going to hit paste, and there it is. There's my link. Okay, so it's that simple. So you do have to make sure you generate a link. You put the link in your Word document. Make sure I know. It's kind of obvious here which one it is because it says it in the URL. And then, so you're going to be doing this for whichever 2 of the storage apps. The one that she chose not to use was OneDrive, and then your tutorial journal. So that Word doc is what you include right here, or you submit right here by Sunday night. All right, so it says it right there too. Oh, ooh, that's the one. That's the mistake right there. Let me make sure. I think I got my Sundays confused. There we go. All right, there we go. Okay, so, and I saw that a couple of you, because I mentioned this last week that you could skip ahead to week 2. And so 2 people already have submitted. If you feel comfortable with what you submitted, and based on the video I'm doing now, and I'm talking about it on Thursday, then that's great. But if you already submitted and realize that you didn't quite do it correctly, then just let me know and I can delete it in here. And you can submit it again by Sunday. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say for right now. I want everyone to kind of get a chance to watch this video, and again on Thursday I'm going to be going over a couple times, depending on when people chime in. I'm going to go over how to resize and do a few things like crop photos in Photoshop. Okay, so watch the video, check out the readings, go through this list here. Remember, you should already have your profile photos prepared in some sort of resume, and then you go through this list here and by Sunday you drop it in the Dropbox. Okay, so I'll see everybody on Thursday. You can chime in anytime between 11 and 1 o'clock, and a couple times in there whenever I get a certain number of students in there, then I'll do a quick demo, and then I'll also answer any questions. And lastly, don't forget, obviously you need to have Photoshop to get this do this activity. So if you haven't done your Creative Cloud app or account, you got to get it set up and then start using Photoshop, and then you know that it works. All right, take care, and I'll see everybody on Thursday.